Hey all, Joe getting back to you guys about motorcycling and how much fun it can be. And I want to talk today about a motorcycle trip that I did about 2 years ago. Um, I live in Massachusetts and I rode my 85 Suzuki Madura, which there's a little bit of stuff on my page about that motorcycle. Um, I rode that over 3,300 miles all the way to Arkansas and back to Massachusetts over the course of 9 days. And I want to talk today about that trip and kind of how it changed my perspective on motorcycling and how much like absolute freedom I had while I was out on that trip. So the story starts. I bought that 1985 Suzuki Madura 1200 for $1,000. Okay. So don't get into thinking that you need to go out and drop all this money on a motorcycle just so you can take a trip. There are good, cheap, reliable motorcycles out there that I would, granted, I probably wouldn't have taken that bike across the country. It was burning a little bit of oil, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? I took it halfway across the country and it worked out just fine. So that's my first topic point is don't be afraid to just go out and do it, okay? There's a lot of guys out there that are much older than I am who rode AMF Harleys, probably some of the most non-reliable motorcycles ever made. And they rode them across the country. And you know what they did when they broke down? They fucking fixed them on the side of the road. That's what happens, right? So don't be afraid to just go out and do it. Don't be afraid to take the little leap of faith, and say, hey, I want to do this. I want to do this many miles over this many days and make it a trip. Go camping. Go see the countryside because that's really what it's all about, and I rode mostly highways because I was in a little bit of a time crunch and I was in a little bit of a money crunch too. I actually ran out of money while I was on this trip too. Had to have my parents send me $100 so I could get home. But so the trip started out probably like 3-4 weeks in advance of the trip. Okay, I have a video on my YouTube channel of me changing the fork seals and making sure everything was good to go. It had a hydraulic clutch, right? So the hydraulic clutch line busted and I had to replace that. And working up to the trip itself, I just started going over everything on the bike, making sure that everything was really good to go. And that was really important for me because I didn't want something to just happen because I didn't really think about it, right? And that's one of those things you have to prepare for the trip, right? Make sure your tires have good tread. You got to make sure they're not 8 years old. You got to make sure your fork oil's good. You got to make sure your oil's topped off, Make sure there's nothing really mechanically wrong with the bike. So I was doing that, and that bike itself had no saddlebags. So what I wound up doing is I wound up taking a set of bags that my buddy didn't want anymore, and I just threw them over the back seat and bungeed them so that they wouldn't rub against the tire, even though they did anyway. Okay. So you got to set yourself up for success on a trip like that. Storage is really crucial, but also having the right things that you're going to use every single day is really important. Okay. You see some of these guys, you see some of these memes or YouTube videos, and the guy's got 6 feet of storage, 6 feet of luggage basically on the back of his bike. Some of these older guys, they need it, right? They need like an air mattress or something along the lines of that. And those guys have, 900-pound bikes, right? The Ultra Classics, the Street Glides, the Road Glides, all those things. So like, yeah, those bikes can kind of handle that. But if you're on a smaller, let's say Japanese motorcycle, because this is kind of the bike we're talking about today, you don't have that kind of luxury. You need to make sure that you're packing with intention and make sure that what you bring with you, you're going to utilize every time, right? So I brought my sleep system with me, which was a hammock, underquilt, sleeping bag, bug net, right? And then my Rainfly. That took up basically one whole bag. And that bag sat on my back seat, okay? So then I basically had my tools, right? I had some rain gear, I had some extra jackets, and I had a gas can, okay? That's really all I brought with me. I did eat a lot on the road, which was a mistake. Bring your own food if you can, okay? Bring easy to cook meals, right? Bring some rice with you. Bring some instant soup or whatever. Make it easy for yourself to not go out to eat, because that's going to cut into your budget big time. If it's if that's the point of the trip, is to go out and eat at all these cool places and see the sights and all that stuff, good for you. But I know personally, me, like, I wouldn't want to be dropping $30 to $40 per meal on the road while I'm on this trip. I'm trying to make it like budget friendly. I'm trying to keep it cheap, and that was my goal for this trip. Even though that's what I want. I want to spending the most money on food and gasoline. Okay, so that's one of those things you have to be really careful about when you're planning a trip like that. You need to be able to manage food and gas. I wound up running out of gas a lot because my petcock was backwards, right? I was running out of gas on the side of the road, and then I wasn't turning it on to reserve. So that was like an issue for me that I ran into. So kind of get to know your motorcycle a little bit, right? But in terms of that, cost associated with that trip, I probably spent $600 to $700 just on gas and food over that 9 days, and that was a lot of money. I mean, that was a lot of money, and I could have made out a little bit better. I was getting coffees and snacks and Red Bulls and all that stuff that you don't necessarily need. You don't need all that stuff. You need water. You need basic food. You need, a little camp stove set up, or build a fire and fucking make your own food. It's easy. It can be as easy as that. So, the next point I want to make is just do it. Just get out there and do it, because you can sit there and prep all day long, right? Say, I'm gonna make sure I have everything I need for this motorcycle trip, and I can almost guarantee you're not. You think you might, but you actually have to do it a few times in order to get into the groove and say, okay, yeah, this is actually what I need, right? This is what I want to bring. And then a few little comforts, right? So like if you want to bring your pillow or something like that, something that's bulky and heavy, but it brings a little bit of comfort to your trip, do it, right? That stuff doesn't bother me. I slept in my hammock. I had my little camp pillow, and I was fine. I was the most comfortable I've probably ever been over that 9 days. So that to me is a big one. Packing light can save you It saves you in gas mileage. It saves you in time. You're not sitting there trying to repack your whole motorcycle, making sure everything goes in the right place. And if you keep it light, you keep it easy, you can be nimble, right? You can be in and out of a place in under a half hour. And that's one of the successes that I had, because I could stop whenever I wanted to. I was getting tired, let's say, right? I had crushed 400, 500, 600 miles that day, and I needed a place where I could lay my head at night, and I could be unpacked in my hammock in probably like 15 to 20 minutes. That's like crucial. So make sure you have good gear, you know, and I'm not even saying expensive gear. I literally bought a Harbor Freight hammock for $20, and I use that shit. I still have it. It's a great hammock. I still have it. I did buy a bigger hammock, but I would still use that hammock to date. It was great. So I talked about just doing it, right? And how there's going to be mishaps, there's going to be slip-ups. You might get a flat tire, right? Which did happen to me when I got to Arkansas, okay? I pulled into my buddy's driveway, sat for about a half hour. I asked my buddy, hey, you want to ride the bike? He's like, yeah, sure. He gets over it, throws a leg over it, and he can't even move the damn thing. I was like, oh, what the heck? The tire tube blew out, okay? This is one of the mistakes I made. I didn't bring an extra tube for each tire. Should have done that. Should have bought that stuff if your tire has tubes, right? If not, if it's a tubeless tire, just bring a plug kit, right? Bring a plug kit, change the tire when you get back home. Because when you're not on the road and you run into that problem and then you're stuck, you know, if I was stuck in Indiana with a tube tire that was pretty hard to find in general. I bought the last one in Arkansas. That can be a detriment to your trip, right? So plan ahead, especially with some of those things, right? If your bike has tubed tires, you need to have a couple tubes ready to go, right? That's one thing I messed up on, but it all worked out in the end. And the next thing I want to talk about is just ride your ride, man. Take your time, ride the ride. Don't have all these lofty ambitions for the motorcycle trip saying, I want to do 1,000 miles today. I want to do 600 miles today. And if I don't, then I'm behind, right? Enjoy the trip, guys. Enjoy the trip. You know, take some time on the back roads, which I did plenty of, you know, and then realize when it's time to move and you need to get on the highway and you need to just keep going on the highway, right? And that was a big one for me because I'm not really a highway rider. I like the back roads a lot, but more often than not, the back roads take a lot longer. So it would have taken me 72 hours or something like that to get to Arkansas if I took back roads only, whereas it took me maybe 2 days, so 48 hours. So, morning. So take your time with that, and just ride your ride. The destination's always gonna be there. Man, it smells weird out here right now. It smells like gasoline or something, or like propane. So like when you're on the bike, you know, and you're riding, and you're maybe jamming to some tunes, right? Or you're just kind of droning out. It can be easy to get unfocused. So that's my next thing. Stay very focused, and maybe even try and ride at like the earlier parts of the day and then the later parts of night. I noticed this worked really well for me. You know, I'd sleep through the busiest parts of the day, And then I could get on my bike at 7, 8 o'clock at night and ride in the dark a little bit. And I could cover a lot more ground that way. However, I'm a sleeper. I need my sleep. And there's a few times where I was riding. I was riding through Cincinnati at like 4 in the morning, and it was so cold out. I got into like Ohio, and I wound up having to set up camp at a rest area because I was so cold that I was starting to shiver really bad. So I just had to pull over and just get warm and snuggly. And that night I was just outside of Louisville, Kentucky, and I got woken up at like 3 in the morning by some homeless people and their dog. And we had some choice words, and I went on my way. I got out of there as quick as I could. So that shit does happen. I basically was trying to not necessarily stealth camp, but maybe just camp in more well-lit areas. Like if I couldn't find a park to camp in, I would try and like find a bank or something like that with some trees outside of it. Try and sleep in front of the ATM machine because the ATM machine has cameras, and if anything did happen, at least I could get it on camera. And that was one of those nights. So the next thing I want to talk about here is just enjoying the ride, right? Don't be too stressed out about really anything. You know, it's not like this big deal if you don't get done what you want to get done, right? There will be other times that you take a trip, and this is one of those things where it's like I was in Ohio, and there's like a really cool road there. I think it's called like 666 or something like that. And I really wanted to ride that road, but I literally just did not have the time to do it. So I wound up not doing it. And it's like, okay, well, that's fine. I didn't really care as much about not riding particular roads. Like when I was in Tennessee, you know, obviously the Tail of the Dragon. I didn't do Tail of the Dragon. I didn't have time. I didn't have time to do it, right? I was trying to get going. I was trying to get back home. I had only a couple days until I had to be at work. It's like I don't really have time to set apart, 6 hours or 3 hours out of my riding time to go and enjoy that. And maybe that's something I'll do in the future. I'll make maybe a shorter trip, be able to experience the roads that I want to experience, and that's good, right? So yeah, ride your ride. Don't worry if you don't hit everything, and if you got time, if time isn't a thing for you, then you're good. I mean, do whatever you want. But I know most motorcycle trips that I take have a timeline, and we need to get to a certain place by a certain time, or we need to get home by a certain time because work, family, obligations, all that stuff, right? So don't feel bad for not hitting the back roads the whole way, and don't feel bad for hitting the highway the whole time. Biggest point though I want to talk about: take the time to enjoy it. Okay, take the time to be in the moment, right? Be in the moment, enjoying the ride, because that's what it's all about. It's all about the freedom of being on two wheels with the wind in your face. No worries, no obligations. It's just you, your motorcycle, maybe a good couple buddies, a couple of good buddies, and you're just chilling. That's what it's all about. It's not about we need to do this or we need to do that, because things change, and like Bruce Lee says, especially with motorcycle trips, be like water, be moldable, be nimble, the plans may change, and things may happen. And this is a really good example of that, is when I went up to Laconia last year, we did about 1,000 miles over the course of 3 days. And my buddy's bike wound up, his stator wound up going out on the bike. So he wound up having to leave it running a lot of the time. And it just really kind of wreaked havoc on his motor. Got really hot. You know, oil started seeping from all the gaskets, all that good stuff, right? But just be prepared for that kind of stuff, you know, because not everything goes as planned all the time. And don't let that ruin your trip, okay? Just have fun. Let the good times roll, and go with the flow, because there's really no other option. You can either be pissed off that your bike's breaking down, or you know, maybe you didn't maintain it enough, maybe you didn't check enough. You know, check your charging system, check all that good stuff, make sure everything's good to go. But shit happens, right? And shit's always going to happen on a motorcycle trip. Something is always going to go wrong. Something is always going to come up unexpectedly. That's just how it happens. That's like, you know, chaos and order, right? Once chaos comes in and you get back to order, well, chaos is right around the corner, right? And the next thing happens, right? Each light bulb, right, is only going to press so many times, right? Each brake pad, you're only going to be able to press so many times until it's not good anymore, you know. And just be like wary of those things. And that goes back to like bringing it full circle on my first point. You know, make sure your maintenance is up to date. Make sure you're checking things over before your trip, you know, and check once, check twice, check 3 times. Just make sure stuff's good, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be dealing with that stuff on the side of the road. You might have to, but you don't really want to be doing that. You want to be enjoying your trip, right? So, you know, make the most of every moment. You can either, and this is with life in general, you can either enjoy the moment and be present in it, or you can let the moment take something away from you, right? Take that joy away from you, take that spontaneity away from you. And you can be pissed about your bike breaking down, or, you know, whatever happens, you know, you run out of gas on the side of the road. Shit happens. There's always people there that are going to be able to help you. And I found that too, you know. There was always people willing to lend a hand, always people willing to extend themselves for you. And I saw that a lot on this trip. And it reminded me that most people are inherently good. And most people are there to help you, right? You just have to ask. You just have to ask for help. So this kind of concludes this video about taking your first motorcycle trip or taking your 15th motorcycle trip. The rules always apply. And just make sure that you're prepped, you're ready to go, so that you can enjoy as much time as possible on the road. And yeah, that ends this video. So have a great day, guys. And yeah, I'll see you later.